Hello, and welcome to Faces of the Main Line. Our guest today is Andrew Howell II. Andrew is a community activist. He is also a co-founder and CEO of an organization which he will tell you about at some point during the interview. Hello, I'm John Ricciutti from MainlineTV.org. Andrew, welcome to Faces of the Main Line and our channel.
Thanks for having me on today, John. Appreciate it.
You okay? You nervous?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're a community activist.
Yes.
How did you become a community activist?
I seen an issue in the neighborhood which concerned the playground, and I asked for information. How do we get stop signs to stop these cars from racing up and down where the playground is located? And it's located on East Spring and St. Paul's Road in Ardmore. So before the stop signs, cars would drive past here doing 60, 70 miles an hour. And I thought that was safety for the community. So that's my first community safety thing I ever done.
Did you get the stop signs?
It's still there. It's been there for 30 years, over 30 years. So the stop sign was installed in 1992. Then on the other side of Ardmore, which is the west side, Holland Avenue, there's a three-way. And I thought that was a safety issue with the kids waiting there for the school bus. So I petitioned again, and them stop sign, that was a three-way. So he has a four-way and a three-way. Then from there, I seen senior citizens waiting outside, waiting for the bus outside of Bella Italian, which is located on Lancaster Avenue in Ardmore. And I petitioned once again, to get bus shelters to cover you, so the seniors and anybody who's waiting out there with their babies and stuff wouldn't get splashed by cars. So that's sort of, and then of course the protests, a few protests I organized.
What protests?
One was Sneaky Pete, where they was stated they wouldn't sell. That was a sneaker store, and they said that they wouldn't sell certain type of sneakers because they were afraid that black kids would come in there and hold them up. And that was featured in the Philadelphia magazine.
That sneaker store I don't think is there anymore.
It does not exist anymore. Once we protested, they moved down the street and they moved out. So it really was effective. It was very effective.
What grounds did they have for not selling those sneakers? Did they do research and said these, or were these?
What happened was that she kept saying she was misquoted by the magazine reporter, but the reporter stuck to her word, and that's how it all came about. So it was her versus the reporter, pretty much, and the reporter would not retract what she said about the black kids.
Well, I've had experience, and I'm not saying what you're saying isn't valid, but I've had experience with news media and know that I was misquoted in something that I didn't say in my previous life, and I worked for SEPTA before I got into television. There were incidents that occurred, accidents that I was at, and that's not really what happened, but. That such it is. So you protested this? In front of the store?
Right in front of the store. Organized a protest. It was very effective. Basically, it was the NAACP, the mainline branch NAACP out there, but we didn't go under the quote unquote umbrella of the NAACP. We went out there as concerned citizens. And then it was the Confederate flag incident.
What's the Confederate flag incident?
Well, police officers had the Confederate flag on their privately owned vehicles. And I thought that was
one or more than one?
It was more than one. Well, after I brought it up, then they started, a few more put it on just to be funny. They thought it was a joke. And I was very disturbed by that because at that point I was a taxpaying citizen of Lower Marion Township. And once again, protested. It was very effective. No more Confederate flag inside, privately owned vehicles inside the township building or around the township building. So no more privately owned vehicles owned by the police officers with the Confederate flag on their vehicles parked in the municipality lot or around the township.
Before we go on, I made a mistake and I want to correct it. You are the founder, not the co-founder of an organization you'll bring up, you'll mention, right?
Founder, CEO.
Yeah,
Peace
founder and CEO. Yes. Lower Merion Township has African American police. Yes.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so that had to affect. They had to know that there were Confederate flags on cars. Right? Don't you think? I'm certain what I'm getting at is there possibly was a division amongst the policemen. Those African American police knew that there were flags on there. It probably bothered them as well. Wouldn't you think?
Well, the state of mind, the mindset in those days, which was 1997, was that it wasn't important. It was only a symbol. And one particular example I gave them was if it was a swastika on the car, they would have been fired. And I think that was a powerful statement. And
well, that's very true.
So next thing you know, you didn't see him anymore. But at that particular time, I also said that it hurt my feelings. You know, they take an oath of office, and in the oath, somewhere in the oath, it says basically don't hurt the person's feelings. So that was hurting my feelings. And I stated that, but once again, they thought it was a joke. You know, so that was one of the iconic things I ever done in my life.
Did you pay a big price for all your community activists? Were you viewed a certain way? Did people look at you a certain way?
Yes, I was always viewed as an agitator. An agitator could be good or agitator could be bad. So, but a lot of the politicals back then, the commissioners inside the township, they actually were rooting for me. You know, so I can't say that all of them were against me. You know, a lot of them coached me, took me up under the wing, showed me certain things, how to say certain things, what to do. So I was pretty much helped out. But I was viewed by some people, of course, like when we did the stop sign up on St. Paul's and East Spring Avenue, it was 3 people that went to the township opposing it. And I just thought that was nuts. You would oppose a stop sign that's saving kids' lives, that's racing up and down the street for years and years and years and years. And I just couldn't take it. That was, you know, and the stop signs are still there today. It's 4-way.
I know
it's a tot lot. It's a playground.
Right. I know. I want to go back to the sneaker issue. How did this sneaker issue become an issue? Like, how did you find out that
I was pointed out through community members. So community members came to me.
African American community members?
Yes, they came to me. What are you going to do now? You missed the big stuff. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do about this? And that's the same thing about the Confederate flag. So technically, it wasn't me that took on the Confederate flag. It was somebody that pointed it out to me. And what are you going to do about this?
Were you in like running for political office or anything?
At one point I did run, but that was way after. That was in 1997. So that was, the Confederate flag was protest in 1997. Sneaky Pete was 1995.
And somebody came to you from the community and said that some kids went in there to buy sneakers? Because I don't know the story.
It was an article.
You have to tell me.
It was an article. It was an article in the Philadelphia Magazine. And they pointed it out to me. I read it myself. I seen it. And
Philadelphia Magazine?
Philadelphia Magazine.
And the owner of the store told the person in Philadelphia Magazine that I won't sell this particular brand of sneaker because African-American kids are going to come in and rob us?
That's what she said.
Wow. Okay. So more about your community activism. How did you get involved with the police?
Well, I'm the founder of the mainline branch NAACP job fair, which started 1995, 1996, 1997, and 1998 consecutively. And that was through the community also. They said, Andrew, you're in this position. We would like to join, but I need a job. So
you would like to join what?
They would say, well, Andrew, we don't mind joining the NAACP, but why don't you get them to have some jobs? Where can we get hired at? We need employment. So I said, okay, I'll propose to the branch to have a job fair. And they accepted it, they adopted it, and the case was closed. We started having job fairs. We had over 14 different companies at the job fair, and the police were included. So that's when I really started dealing with the police. And I invited them, I think it was Upper Marion, Lower Marion, Radnor, and Haverford. So each one of the job fairs, they would come to the job fair with their materials and stuff, trying to recruit police officers and offer jobs.
And so you got employment for on the police force for people?
Well, when they were recruiting, they only can recruit during the testing time.
Right.
So even though they may have came to the job fair, it may not have been the testing time. If it fell in that time frame, then of course they would take the test and et cetera.
How do you feel about the police?
I feel that I feel good about them. I want to help them, help me save my life and help save the community's life.
How do you feel about defunding the police?
I don't think that's a good idea at all. I've heard of funding and finances being turned to a different committee, but not defunding them, period, but making the funds appropriate to certain other committees. So I would not defund the police.
When you say other committees, you mean what?
Like recruiting, more community involvement, more the police with the community, and the police is the community. That's 21st century policing. So the police is the community, and the community is the police.
How do you feel about the 5 black African American, if you will, policemen in Memphis that killed
That's a good
a young
question.
man?
That's a very good question right there, John. I feel very disturbed by that. But once again, 400 years ago, some of our ancestors was slavery in America. And quite often the slave master would give the black guy the whip. So I just call this is another incident of monkey see, monkey do. So if you have white officers killing and murdering African Americans throughout history, throughout this country, it's basically if they can do it, we can do it too. And that's very disturbing. But of course, those officers they weren't trained right. They weren't properly trained. They don't, these was officers that shouldn't have never been on the police force. They should have never got hired.
But they did.
But they did. But once again, they removed them off the job right away. If a white guy does something, it wouldn't happen like that. They got to go through trials, they go through tribulations, and it's a whole different avenue.
Well, I think that the George Floyd thing expedited all that. I mean, there was, every police department's regulations are, and I worked with the Radnor Police for 13 weeks on their Citizens Police Academy. And there's vetting that goes through. Those officers obviously weren't vetted. And I think that they may have done jobs in other fields and were not prepared to be policemen. And like you said, they shouldn't have been on the police force, or we don't know their history. We don't know about them personally.
Well, once again, instead of defunding the police department, help them with better training. Help fund the police so they can have better officers out there on the street.
You can't do that in communities where there's not a lot of money. You need a lot of community money to do that, and you also have to be objective. In my view, you have to be objective, because you have to look at it and say, okay, well, in Philadelphia, for example, everybody has got a video camera. They're on their phone, so any action a police takes gets videoed. Mm-hmm. They is everyone. The police don't want to risk their job, risk losing their pension, risk losing their home or their second home and go into jail. And that's unfortunate. Now, I don't know who created that. It's a culmination of the newspaper publicizing things, infuriating people. So I don't know how you can fix that. Maybe you have an idea.
Well, I looked at a certain program the other day, and they had private citizens in Detroit, Michigan, armed, protecting their communities, and they were all black. And this is something sort of like the Guardian Angels back in the day when they was going on the SEPTA trains and stuff like that in New York City and in the city of Philadelphia. And I was really happy to see that. They're protecting women and they're protecting the kids. I wish they would do that in Philadelphia.
Well, there are some people that are. There are. And I can tell you that in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills, they have their own police force.
That's a good thing.
Because they're not getting what's happening is there are a lot of military guys that are starting their own security agencies, and they're not subjugated to the same kinds of stuff. So if you live in a gated community and you want to have someone policing your community, you don't use the regular police. You use your own police force.
Well, that's a good thing. And what I like about it is that they're not targeting the police. They're not saying, well, the police just did this or the police just did that. They're saying the truth. In our community, which is the black community, 90% of the murders are done by black people. So there's some heck of a people there.
What are your thoughts on that so many young kids are committing murders? Your son was, can I say this?
Yes.
Your son was murdered, right?
Yes.
And why are so many young kids, African-American kids, killing each other?
No hope. You remember Jesse Jackson, keep hope alive. Right now they have no hope. They have no admiration to be anything else but a thug, a hustler, a thief. They don't want to do it the right way. They don't want to do it is the easy way, but they consider it the hard way. So the things that back in the day when we would consider easy, they consider it hard. They want the fast money, and they have no value in human life. So that's a bad thing. But that's us killing us. And, you have certain groups out here, BLM, and I would like to see them out there with us, with protecting us, that's where it should be at. If it matters so much, it should matter within your own community, as far as the violence within your own community, self on self. It's like self-destructive, and that's not good at all.
I did notice there was a woman, I think last week, that was around Rittenhouse Square. She was beat up and robbed by 3 or 4 young kids. And the comments that people made about her being mugged were, we need more police on the street. I can't believe this is happening in our neighborhood. And my response to that was, so as long as it's like North Philly or Southwest Philly or Kensington, it's okay. I can't believe this happened in Rittenhouse Square. You know what I'm saying? Is that
right.
mentality that I think affects a lot of things. I think there's a lot of white people that think that, well, as long as they're committing crimes in those neighborhoods, it doesn't affect us. And that does bother me, personally.
Oh, definitely. When things filter out, it bothers everybody.
Yeah.
But when it starts and almost stay in a certain area, if you look at the murders in Philadelphia, over 500 murders, 90% of them was African American.
Yeah. What is I think you want to talk about your founding of your organization. What is that?
The Race for Peace Committee aimed to bridge the gap between police, communities and police, and also be proactive with racism, discrimination, and violence.
Do you have you had any work? Have you worked at all with the Philadelphia Police?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. We've done so many different events with the Philadelphia Police. We were just on their executive team. They came up with an executive team now. It's about 14 of them. And we were on Zoom meeting with them, giving them some advice and suggestions and stuff. And I believe they'll follow up on that. And that was about 3 or 4 months ago.
And what about what other forces?
What other law enforcement agencies? Radnor, Lower Marion, Upper Marion.
And what do you do with them?
Well, Radnor and Lower Marion, we had the basketball game at the Kobe Bryant's gym. So that'll be our 8th basketball game. On May 6, 2023, we'll be at the King of Prussia Mall with our traditional annual meet and greet, which wasn't, the COVID didn't stop that. So this is actually consecutive, 7th consecutive meet and greet at the King of Prussia Mall. And that starts at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. At the main event, the main entrance of the mall.
Do you ever think about, like, how do you feel about, like, currency? Having an African American on currency.
I was very happy to hear that, but I also thought it was a slap in the face to the black man, to not have an African American man, a black man on the currency. I do respect and I love what Harriet Tubman has done, but once again, that's a slap in the face to the black man. There's all men on currency, besides Susan B. Anthony, I believe.
Right.
So, and for it to be the first one, it's just mind-boggling. It was mind-boggling. I was like, wow, a woman, not a man? These are the times we live in, but I was disappointed about that. Happy that it was African American whenever it happens, but disappointed that they didn't pick up African American male.
I don't know who goes into that, who determines those things, but I was just curious to hear your stance on it. You lost your daughter through drugs?
Yes, I lost my daughter on October 30th, 2017 through cocaine and fentanyl overdose. And, that touch is very sad. And I also see the people down in Kensington where they say it about the safe sites. And a lot of the residents, I talked to a lot of the residents in Kensington, and they say, you're talking about safe sites. What about safe communities? So, and one of my associates actually went to one of those meetings and voiced his opinion, and their tongues dropped. Their jaws hit the ground because he was like, you're talking about safe sites? What about the safe communities? What do you do after the site is closed at 5 o'clock p.m.? Now you got all these people walking around like zombies, dangerous to the communities where you want them where you want to have these safe sites at. So instead of safe sites, you should be talking about safe communities. The people that live inside the community need to be safe. So that's my take on that. And I also believe that marijuana is a gateway to the heroin, to the cocaine. When they legalized marijuana, I was like, wow, why would they do that? And it should be for people that have cancer. I do believe that, for people with certain medical conditions, glaucomas, things like that. But just for what they call temporary or just having fun, recreational, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that marijuana should have ever been legalized, So that's my take on that, because it leads to other things. And now you see it. So legalizing marijuana, believe it or not, 90% of those people doing heroin start off with marijuana. Just like 90% of the alcoholics start off on beer or wine. Then they go to liquor, which is harder. So that's what I believe on that. And it's a shame. But one thing I like to say is about special needs. I know I'm interrupting you a little bit, but special needs. I have a daughter that's special needs. I'm an advocate for that.
You do have a daughter of special needs? I have a daughter,
yes, that has special needs. And in my future with Andrew P. Howell II, that'll be my future, really doing the most I can to help special needs children, special needs people. They pretty much, she gets a triple threat. She's black, she's a female, and she has special needs. So,
are they physical or emotional?
Emotional. So she has Down syndrome. And, I have a lot on my plate, John. That's nothing, nothing new, You just have to deal with it. But that's part, and I actually had a program with special needs for a talent show where special needs, senior citizens, law enforcement, and the youth would all be on the same stage at the same time. It's never been done before. And that's one of the things I'm really trying to do, trying to accomplish that.
How old is your daughter?
16.
Is she in any schools or any particular facilities that she can, get educated or?
Yeah, she's in high school.
Okay.
But once again, gets mistreated. Certain things happen. She just got her hair cut in school. So that's one of the things I'm fighting right now. And it's just unbelievable.
We mean she got her hair cut.
Her hair was removed while she was in school. Not totally bald, but her hair is real long. She has long hair. Had long hair.
Who cut it?
Somebody in the school while they were in her care. It didn't happen at the house. So when she went off to school, her hair was removed. What time, what particular place in the building, or if it was in the building, or if it was in the schoolyard, I don't know. All I know was in their care. And there's one teacher and 5 assistants. And I'm fighting that now. So, that's what I'm dealing with, But once again, before that even happened, I was an advocate for special needs.
We haven't talked in a couple of years, you and
Yes.
I. So, is there anything you want to add to what we've said so far? Because our time is limited. So,
I would like to really thank Dr. Jeanette Turner, who steered me straight in the NAACP. She was the vice president of the mainline branch at that time when I was in there in the 90s. And also Jesse Patrick. He was the political action. He was the one who said, boy, all brains and no bronze is a buried soldier. So he taught me how to be kind of sophisticated about what I do, how I do it. I also would like to thank Hameen Diggins, one of my family members who helped with the racial piece. He always had my back, and he done a lot. He was Men of Action, Brothers of Faith, Delaware County. He's also with the Urban Navigation right now. He's a hell of a guy, and I really appreciate his help with all the Racial Peace Committee and stuff like that. He deals with the youth, and it's kind of like our community outreach person.
I have a question I want to ask you, and we got off onto another subject. With your relationship with the police,
yes,
how are you seen in your community?
Well, I don't want to say the N word, but they say you an HN. You everything and anything negative. So you have to have tough skin to be in my position. A lot of people were saying, you don't do anything for the community. I'm a community activist. Everything I do is for the community. The police are part of the community. I want to help them, help me save our lives. So I'm viewed as a jock for the cop, just everything you can think of, I've been called, but it hadn't stopped me. It goes back to 1997 when I did the Confederate flag, when everybody thought that wasn't important. Look at how it turned out nowadays. The Confederate flag is very important, so once again, when you're in a leadership role, you have to be able to roll with the punches and take certain things. And it comes from your own people. It comes from other people, but I'm always, they always consider me, I love the cops so much. I do love the cops. I want them to keep helping save my life. And if you defund the police, who are you going to call? Who are you going to call when something goes wrong?
If you defund the police, they're going to affect your neighborhood before they affect a lot of other neighborhoods.
Definitely.
It'll be the black and brown community that gets affected by removing the police. So that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, we run out of time, and it's been a while since we've spoken. I hope we can get back together again.
Oh, definitely.
And do another show.
Definitely.
With community activist Andrew Howell II, This is John Ricciutti. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, mainlinetv.org. Thank you. Have a good day. I hope you enjoyed the show.